How's it going, everyone? This is part 6, I believe, of, let's see here. I followed a Laravel tutorial but used my own framework instead. And we'll be creating and storing chirps today, or in this session.
Our chirper application is showing chirps that we have stored in the database, but we still don't have a way for our users to actually create their own chirps and then store them in the database. So that's what we're going to do in today's lesson. We're going to build a form, we're going to handle the validation with that form, and then we're going to store those chirps that users create in the database, and all of it happens with the things that are built into Laravel. Now, we're still saving the actual user authentication for a later lesson, but we are going to allow our users, as anonymous users, to create those chirps. So why don't we add the form at the top of our feed and we can get going from there. We really just want a form right about here after the latest chirps header and then before we actually list the chirp. So I'm going to put a form there, but we're not going to wire this up. Nothing is actually going to happen when we submit this form. It's just a plain HTML
All right, let's continue.
form. There's nothing special about this, with one text area and then a button to submit. But yeah, there's nothing that actually happens when we hit submit. If I was
All right, so let's go into here. All right, forgot. All right, so here goes. All right, so this should be a very simple form. So it's basically all right. This is really cool. Okay, so
to
let's.
type anything
All right, so they already have the form set up. So it's
here and hit submit with this chirp button. Yes, the message comes up in a URL parameter up here, but we're not actually doing anything with that information on Laravel's side. So why don't we hook this up?
all right. So we need to actually build the form first. So we need to have our CSRF token, Arabic, as they will say in Wisconsin. How many bags did you pack today at the airport? Uh, message. I have no idea. Let's see. What do they call that?
First, size.
All right. They don't have anything there. Okay, that's good. I like it doing this way sometimes. Oh, fix input block link. So, yeah. That is actually an easy fix. We'll start that. That'll be a high quick priority. And then div ATRs. All right. And other links. I don't know why that's not working. Um, value. Let's see here. So label, name, value. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. All right. The display errors is optional. Okay. Yeah, that's the same thing. And then chirp controller. So let's see here. I think it's just something like, yeah. Hmm. We need to do this. Get error messages. All right. Yeah. All right. Um, hmm. This is the thing with Windows. Damn. That's the freaking constructor. Hmm. All right. So that's oh, I'm like burning up in this room. So, all right. If all right.
Fine. So why don't we hook this up? First, I actually want to create the method
Why is this?
that we're going to be submitting this form to in our controller. So why don't we go to our chirp controller? And this store method is going to be the perfect method to do this because this is creating a resource, in this case a chirp. And this is what is intended for this resource controller. We already received the request information, so we're just going to validate that. This is validating the request.
All right. So they're separating concerns here from the index to the store.
And then we're storing it in this validated parameter. We're saying, hey, this message that we're receiving from this request.
Do I? Oh yeah, I do have a validator. Okay. All right. So let's do our validator. So let's do a max. Uh, roll. All right. All right. So this is what we're going to do. And then that's weird. Model is pretty much done. If this request is post, this request CFS uh, I'm missing something. Something very trivial. Ah,
Is required. It should be a string and a max of 255 characters. So now we have two places where this max is indicated in our validation as well as in the database itself. Of course, we can also add
just to be sure. Hmm. Let's see. Let's just do a. This is harder than I thought. I'm not sure why. It's probably something really stupid. Alright, this is what? New chirp. If we go in here, that was actually an issue, a legitimate issue, but this is getting long and winded. I'm already 34 minutes in and I'm barely moving along. Uh, okay. Alright, so oh, also, uh, equal that needs to be done. Otherwise, we won't know what user the chirp is associated with. Oh my god, another offshore recruiter. Just a bunch of bullcrap. Trying to send me a LinkedIn request. If if you get contacted by a offshore recruiter, the job is basically shit. Alright, so watch this. That was it. I'm just freaking blind.
Add this to the
Or dumb.
front end as well. I believe we might actually be
It's also my framework, so I should have known better.
doing that. Yes, max length of 255. So this is great to have the front end validation as well as the back end validation. This is Laravel's way of validating anything that comes in through a request. We have specific validation parameters that we can add. Most of them you'll find in the docs are pretty self-explanatory. And believe me, there is a ton of them. Next, we're going to create the chirp. So in this case, we can use the chirp model to say, hey, we're going to create this with a message of the validated message and the user ID of null. Of course, we can actually omit this, but we're going to add this back in when we get to lesson 11 and we add authentication. And lastly, we're going to return a redirect. In this case, we're redirecting back to the home page with a specific success message. In this case, we're going to say that there is a success that
So what we can do is there is a success.
the chirp has been created. This is
Yeah, that's it. Chirp created.
an easy way for our application to know that, hey, this was successful. In Laravel, this with function is returning with a flash of data to the session. So in this case, after we redirect back, that initial redirect, that initial load after this has happened, flashes a piece of data to the session. And that data is this success message that has the value of chirp create.
That's interesting. Do I need to do this? Nope. I really don't know if that's the thing I need to do. Wait. Because when I did this earlier, uh, yeah, things are in home index. These inconsistencies are just are driving me crazy.
Created. We'll see in a little bit how we can grab this information if a chirp has actually successfully been created and display that to our user. For now, let's hook this up in our web route. So similar to our route get, we're going to have a route host. And we'll say this is the chirps route. And we're going to pass in the chirp controller, the store method. All right, now in our home.blade.php, where we have this form, how do we tell this form to submit this information to the /chirps post route that we just set up? Well, it's actually really simple. For this form, we're going to say that there is a method of post because we are posting to that /chirps route, and the action is going to be to that specific route, the /chirps. Now, there's one more thing that we need to.
So let's see here. I have
To do within Laravel. It's this @CSRF directive. What that CSRF directive is doing is the equivalent to a hidden input field attaching a CSRF token like you might see here. This is something Laravel automatically generates and gives to you out of the box. It's incredibly easy to use, but it's given to you so you can easily protect your site and your application from cross-site request forgery, CSRF. And that should be it. Why don't we test this out and see if our form works the way we expect it to. So on our latest chirps, this is a test of our new form. Hi there, Bootcamp. Chirp. And look at that. Because we were redirected, we automatically receive that new chirp.
can I do there should be a way to do that I think it's sort. sort. Yeah, that's right. Oh. Okay. We'll fix that later.
chirp because the slash route is automatically getting all of the latest chirps and pushing them into our view. Now, here's one thing I want to make you aware of that we're not going to touch in this course, but something that you might want to look into in the future. It's keeping this form up to date. Right now, you can see here that when we posted, it was 0 seconds ago. I haven't touched it, but if anyone else accesses this page, it will see it in a different timestamp because it's when they requested that data. If I press refresh, okay, now it's 1 minute ago. So I'm not going to see any new chirps until I actually refresh the page. Well, Laravel has some great options such as WebSockets within something like Laravel Reverb in order to say, I want to watch if there are any chirps that are coming in. Or if there has been a new chirp that comes in, I want to maybe notify all users that a new chirp has come in. Again, not something that we're going to be touching on in this course, but it's helpful to know that those options are out there. And it might be a great way to kind of build on top of what we are building here with Chirper. All right, we have this form and it works. We're submitting anonymous data. We don't have to worry about the validation error because if I tried to chirp, it says, please fill out this field. Well, we have client-side validation, but we also have server-side validation as well. Why don't we remove the client-side validation so that we see what our server sends back? I'm going to remove this required parameter, and just for fun, I'm going to remove the max length as well. Now, when we submit
Ah. Right there.
our form, we would expect maybe some error, right?
Did I put it in the wrong spot? Yeah.
Right? Because we don't have the client-side validation, and we do have the server validation in our chirp controller. We have validated that this message is required before we even continue with the request. And if we hit submit, well, we're refreshing the page, but nothing's happening. Now, the neat part is that Laravel gives, if there is any errors within the session that has been passed to the view, it has an errors prop. In this case, this is a specific variable that we then have access to on our view. So, just for some quick debugging, we can add this if there are any errors. Why don't we dd all of those errors. DD is a little quick helper function that Laravel has that is specifically saying we're going to die and dump. In this case, shut down everything that Laravel is doing at that time and just show this. When we take a look. So if I click chirp, look at, we have an array. That's our errors array.
Damn it. I gotta fix that.
And it includes a single error. The message field is required. So how can we make
Chirp. There you go.
this better for our users? Well, let's go ahead and do this. Instead of just having this text area, we're going to add a few things. We're going to say that if there is an error with a message parameter, that's what we're passing from the controller, well, then let's go ahead and show that message. And this error message is also coming from the text area with the name of message. Daisy UI also gives us the ability to have the text area of an error, and so that just displays it easily within the CSS as well. We also have this old message. So when we flash a status session, we're redirecting to the page, then this message text area is going to display the old variables. So if we, for some reason, went over 255 characters, we should then redirect and see the old message in the text area with the error. For now, just to show this off, we're going to say a max of 255, but a min of 5. Now, if I try to enter anything under 5, let's say hi, chirp, the message field must be at least 5 characters. That's an error message that Laravel automatically created for us based on our validation errors. We returned, we had a full redirect, we see the hi message still in this text area, but now we are able to fix this. Hi there, chirp. Perfect. I'm pasting way more than 255 characters in. We should get that same error. Perfect. Let's go ahead and reset everything. And in our home, we're going to add back in that client-side validation. If I try to add any more characters, you might hear me hitting my finger on the keyboard. I can't because that max length is affecting this text area field. Great. But what about the success?
Chirp index doesn't. Oh no, what? There. This is confusing. And then I can just get rid of. There you go.
This message as well. You might have remembered in our app.css, we added this animate fade out parameter. This is so when we do create a component that is a notification component for any success messages, this is going to make things a lot easier. And actually, we're not going to put this success message in our home.blade.php. Instead, we're going to put this in the layout. So I'm going to go to our layout.blade.php, and just under the nav, why don't I put this? In this case, if the session has a parameter of success, why don't we show a toast? The toast is going to be the toast of top, and this is all mostly Daisy UI, but we also do have that animate fade out class that we inputted into our app.css. This is saying that we're just going to take that session value, the success message, regardless of if this is from a posted chirp or if we use this in logging in and registering. Let's post a new chirp. And there we have the neat little notification up there at the top that nicely fades out. Now, to add just a little bit of UI nicety before we get into the next lesson, if we tried to create a new chirp and we have an error message, of course we get the client-side validation, but if for some reason we create something that is over 255 characters or we bypass client-side validation somehow, we're just going to get the generic error message that we saw initially. What if we want to customize that? In this case, if I remove that required client-side validation, go back into our form and click chirp, we get the message field is required. It feels a little, I don't know, not chirper-y. So to show off the power of Laravel, we can actually customize these validation messages. We can say the message required text should say, please write something in a chirp, or the message max text that then gets sent back if this validation does not pass. Chirps must be 255 characters or less. Why don't we even change up this success message as well? Your chirp has been posted. So refreshing chirp.
Yeah, let's do that. The one main difference is I'm doing my validation in the model. They're doing it in the controller. And then go into here. Kind of get rid of that. I just my0. My 0. Nope. So the text area. All right. All right. 7.5. I feel like I don't like that div. And then form and y w75 and then mb5. But if I have card and then mt0, no. It's a little bit better. The card was screwing things up.
As well, your chirp has been posted. So refreshing chirp, please write something to chirp. Now,
And now I need and then me2. No, wait. How about crap? There. And then there. And then let's see here. I thought there was an attribute. And if I go into CSS, all right. And then there.
Now, all of a sudden, within a couple of seconds, because of what Laravel gives to us, we have the ability to modify something as simple as error messages that we don't have to do hardly anything. Now, in the next lesson, we'll start working on editing and deleting chirps, even before we get to the user authentication piece. But it is helpful to know that while we won't touch on it in this particular course, there's so much more that you could add here, even for this particular lesson. What if you don't want your users to post 5 times within a second, or maybe 100 times within a second? There are some bad eggs out there, and really you can't trust anyone on the web. Well, Laravel has the ability to rate limit. What that means is that you can, within a matter of minutes, say, hey, this particular chirp method can only be done by a user maybe 1 time every 60 seconds. But before we get into something like that, why don't we check out how you can edit and delete chirps? See you in the next lesson.
Wow, I wish a certain social media site had that limit to stop someone with frontotemporal dementia from posting 500 times an hour. All right, so that is it for this section. I might film another section here in a little bit. Today, I'm not sure. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.